We do expect to hear from the House Minority Leader, Hakeem Jeffries, as critics are warning that he and top Senate Democrat Chuck Schumer, speaking of which, have no path forward after plunging the country into this government shutdown.
There's no other option out of this. I don't see how this ends other than Senate Democrats folding.
The White House moments ago blaming Chuck Schumer for shutting down the government to appease his far-left critics. Listen to the vice president.
Chuck Schumer is terrified she's going to get a primary challenge from Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. The reason why the American people's government is shut down is because Chuck Schumer is listening to the far-left radicals in his own party because he's terrified of a primary challenge.
Well, Senator Schumer was offered a chance to respond earlier today, but ran into some trouble. Listen to this.
Every Republican who's gone on TV the last 12 hours or so has called this the Schumer shutdown. What do you say about that name? Senator Schumer, can you hear me?
I can't hear.
Ooh, okay. David Avella is joining us now. GOPAC Chairman and Megan Hayes is here, former Biden Director of Message Planning. Some unfortunate timing there, Megan. I'm not sure. This was Caroline Leavitt just a few moments ago. We'll roll tape on her saying enough is enough with all of this.
Enough is enough. Democrats need to stop sabotaging our country and holding the American people hostage in the country. Democrats need to do their jobs. The American people want the government reopened.
So, Megan, will Democrats have to fold?
Look, I think that Democrats and Republicans both need to do their jobs here. The American people send members to Congress to keep the government open, to keep things funded. And Donald Trump was sent to Washington to lower prices. And without these healthcare subsidies, the cost of healthcare is going to skyrocket and many people are going to lose their healthcare altogether, which is not good for the overall economy. So I would urge both Democrats and Republicans to work together, find a negotiation, get the government open, and get these healthcare subsidies reinstated.
So, David, a lot has been made of what Democrats were saying about this. We know what Bill Clinton said about illegal immigration and illegal aliens in his 1996 State of the Union address. We have seen what Chuck Schumer said in a similar timeline about illegal aliens gaming the system. Let's go back to 1993 and listen to what Hillary Clinton said about health care benefits for illegal aliens. Listen here.
And then finally, as to illegal aliens, we agree with you that we do not think the comprehensive health care benefits should be extended to those who are undocumented workers and illegal aliens. We do not want to do anything to encourage more illegal immigration into this country. We know now that too many people come in for medical care as it is. We certainly don't want them having the same benefits that American citizens are entitled to have.
The vice president said when he was at the briefing that positions like that would be considered to be MAGA these days. How did Democrats get from where they were in the 1990s to where they are now?
John, you showed a clip there that Megan probably wasn't even born yet. How can we're showing a history here that many Democrat operatives don't even know that their party held those positions at one point. You have a much younger group of leaders in the party now that have shifted dramatically to a much more progressive approach. Now, as you think about this shutdown, when does it end? It ends when John Ossoff feels the pressure in Georgia, and Roy Cooper, who's running for the Senate in North Carolina, and Angie Craig in Minnesota, and Chris Pappas in New Hampshire. When they feel the pressure and they think it impacts their 2026 chances, then they go to Schumer and say, we got to vote for this. And that's where then you ultimately get the votes.
Well, Megan, I'll let you respond to that as your name was invoked. But J.D. Vance just a few moments ago made the case at that White House press briefing that this is about Chuck Schumer listening to those far left members of his party. Listen.
Let's be honest about the politics, is that Chuck Schumer is terrified she's going to get a primary challenge from Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. The reason why the American people's government is shut down is because Chuck Schumer is listening to the far-left radicals in his own party because he's terrified of a primary challenge. So I'd invite Chuck Schumer to join the moderate Democrats and 52 Senate Republicans, do the right thing, open up the people's government, and then let's fix health care policy for the American.
Cue up those Democrats because Hakeem Jeffries is delivering a press conference right now. Let's dip in and listen.
We've heard nothing from any of the legislative leaders on the Republican side, and the president has been engaging in irresponsible and unserious behavior, demonstrating that all along, Republicans wanted to shut the government down. That's no surprise, because for decades, Republicans have consistently shut the government down as part of their efforts to try to extract and jam their extreme right-wing agenda down the throats of the American people. Democrats have repeatedly made clear we are ready to sit down with anyone at any time and at any place in order now to reopen the government, to enact a spending agreement that meets the needs of the American people, and to address the devastating Republican healthcare crisis that has caused extraordinary harm on people all across the country, in rural America, working class America, urban America, small town America, the heartland of America, and black and brown communities throughout America. The Republican healthcare crisis is devastating, the likes of which no one has ever seen.
All right, so Megyn, your response to Hakeem Jeffries, they're live on Capitol Hill saying the president and Republicans are unserious and demonstrating unserious behavior. Republicans wanted to shut down the government. Your reaction to what you're hearing?
So I don't think that Republicans wanted to shut down the government, just like I don't think Democrats wanted to shut down the government. I think that everyone wanted to come to a solution, but they need to come to the table to negotiate. The four leaders need to get together and figure this out. But I will say that the president's own pollster, Trump's own pollster, is saying that Republicans will lose support if they do not extend the health care subsidies. So 8 in 10 Americans actually believe that those subsidies are valuable and worthwhile. So I would just caution Republicans, the longer this goes on and people start to see their premiums increase, which will come in the next month, they will figure out how much their premiums will increase. They will start to lose support, and that will really impact in 2026. And I just want to comment on one thing that we talked about right before the press conference. Is illegal immigrants do not get federally funded health care. So that is a lie that is being spread by Republicans.
All right, so let's talk about what Jeffries just said, David, in terms of the extreme right-wing agenda, this idea of sunsetting these tax breaks in the Affordable Care Act. That was something that Democrats passed. Back in 2020, this was supposed to sunset at the end of this year. Now they're calling it an extreme right-wing agenda? It's kind of turning the tables a bit.
You make a very good point there, John. Let's keep in mind that government shutdowns have never proven effective at changing policy. It is the normal appropriations process and the normal negotiations with legislation that needs to occur where policy changes. Now, let's take them at their word. They want to spend another $1.5 billion that this country doesn't have. What they're ultimately saying is, let's go borrow more money from China and other countries that don't like us so we can have more government spending. And if you're not going to give us more government spending, we're going to shut the government down. That's why until those senators who are up next year in 2026 feel the pressure, this could go on for quite some time.
Oh, dear. All right. Well, we'll keep watching it hour by hour. Thank you so much to both of you. Megyn, David, thank you.
That was 35 days back in 2018, 2019. So we'll see how long this one goes. We'll see. Thanks, folks. Appreciate it.
Bipartisan talks on reopening the government began to materialize less than a day into the shutdown, with Republicans and Democrats trying to find a middle ground on expiring Obamacare tax credits. The federal government entered its first full day of a shutdown on Wednesday, and so far neither side of the aisle is willing to buckle as the hours ticked by. Still, in the middle of Senate Republicans' third attempt to pass the House GOP's short-term funding extension, a group of nearly a dozen senators huddled on the floor in the first public display of negotiations so far. There are glimmers of hope, and I think they're bipartisan, said Senator Richard Blumenthal, D. Connecticut, who was in the huddle. The conversations on the floor came as Republicans demanded that Democrats yield and provide the votes to reopen the government, while Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer, DNY, doubled down on his position that Democrats wouldn't budge without serious movement on Obamacare premium subsidies. Donald Trump and Republicans have barreled us into a shutdown because they refuse to protect Americans' health care, Schumer said. It's clear that the way out of this shutdown is to sit down and negotiate with Democrats to address the looming health care crisis that faces tens of millions of American families. Senate Majority Leader John Thune, RSD, appears willing to slowly chip away at Senate Democrats through a de facto war of attrition and plans to bring House Republicans' bill to the floor for a vote again and again. The Senate will be out on Thursday to observe Yom Kippur, but is expected to return Friday and possibly vote into the weekend on the continuing resolution, CR, that would reopen the government until November 21st, to give lawmakers more time to finish work on the dozen spending bills needed to fund the government. Thune told Fox News Digital that he expected to talk to Schumer in the next day or two. He's indicated that he's interested in doing that, Thune said. I'm not sure what we'll achieve by that, but I think things seem to be moving on their side. We just keep telling them to give us open up the government, and we'll get on with regular business. Thune and Senate Republicans have argued that Senate Democrats' rejection of the GOP's CR is hypocritical, given that when former President Joe Biden was in office, Schumer and his caucus routinely voted for clean extensions like the GOP's current proposal. But the issue for Democrats was multifaceted. Senator Tim Kaine was among the many lawmakers holding a confab on the Senate floor, and while he didn't divulge full details of the private talks, he said a major issue for him was about ensuring that a deal is a deal. Anything we agree to, because it's not a clean CR if the president will tear it up tomorrow, he said. In the past, we voted for clean CRS, but the president has shown that he'll take the money back. Among the options tossed around in the huddle were a 10-day funding extension once floated by Schumer, which he quickly shot down earlier this week, or passing the Republican plan to actually give lawmakers time to negotiate a solution to the expiring tax credits. Senator Peter Welch, D. Vermont, said there were no high-level discussions quite yet, but that any path forward had to be enforceable. The bottom line here is that I sense real concern among my Republican colleagues about what happens to the people they represent if we go off the cliff on the Affordable Care Act, he said, referring to Obamacare. And Senator Mike Rounds, RSD, who helped facilitate the conversation, said it'd be great if lawmakers were able to get something figured out before the November 21st deadline in the GOP's bill, but that he and other Republicans were still pushing Democrats to support their legislation. It's not like there's anything that they should be objecting to with regard to what's in the existing bill, he said. This is their hostage, and we're just telling them, look, we've got support on the other side to fix the issues that you have a concern about, but it's going to take time to negotiate those through.